We've had a ton of She-Hulk news over the last week or two about the upcoming Disney Plus series, so I thought it would be a great time for a She-Hulk Shakedown. Let's dive into several of these news stories, including set pics, villains, and an interesting rumor, break them all down, and talk a little bit about each story. Before we smash this up, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. Also, don't forget about the big giveaway. We got this PlayStation 5 to give away at 25,000 subscribers. All you have to do to get in on the giveaway is be a subscriber and leave a comment. Don't forget to support the channel. Check out the link to Buy Me a Coffee down below. It's a great way to throw the channel a tiny bit of pocket change, all without creating some sort of reoccurring obligation. And we really appreciate the support. Now we do know the show is in full production, and we know this because we've got several set pictures. Now, about a week and a half ago, we got our first look at Tatiana Maslany as Jennifer Walters, and it seems like based on this picture, they've gone almost full Peter Parker with her. Now, Jennifer in the comics is quite a bit different than the version we're getting on screen, but between the glasses and the smile, it really does make me feel like she's playing down her lawyer side. Now, she's obviously not the actual She-Hulk here, but it does give you an idea of where they're going with the character. And we also got a bunch of other set pictures from production. We got a couple of cool behind-the-scenes pictures, but more interesting, we got this first look at Mark Ruffalo on set. Now, as many of you know, not only will Mark Ruffalo be returning, but Tim Roth as the Abomination, so we're likely to get quite a few more of these pictures. I don't think the series is possible without Ruffalo, and to see him on set and having fun just makes me feel good. Now we also got this other set picture, check it out. And at first, when these pictures first dropped about a week ago, I wasn't too sure who this was. But since then, we found out this is Jameela Jamil, and she will be playing Titania. Now, Titania is probably the biggest casting news to come out of the show in quite a while. And this actress has some pretty established history on TV. For most Americans, she's best known for The Good Place, and she was part of the show's 4-season run. She's also part of the TBS game show The Misery Index and HBO Max's Legendary. Now, apparently, they're going to make some pretty big changes to Titania, though. In the comics, Titania was actually born out of Secret Wars and was created by Doctor Doom. Her origin story there is pretty darn cool, and it's absolutely clear that's not what's happening here. Although, this would be an interesting place for Doctor Doom to pop up. Now, the initial report for this came out of the Illuminati, but it has been picked up by several trades since. Apparently, this take on the character will be, and I quote, a Kardashian-esque social media influencer in her 30s with a dark side. So apparently there's going to be a lot of changes from the comics, but I do think they're keeping her original name, Mary McFerrin. Now, if you're familiar with her in the books, she's actually got superhuman strength, stamina, and durability. But these were the powers given to her by Doctor Doom. I suspect there will be some sort of gamma factor in her powers here. Also, I think Titania will play a big part in the origin of She-Hulk. Remember, in the comics, she gets a blood transfusion from her cousin Bruce. I suspect some sort of battle between Bruce Banner and Titania will lead to an injury of Jennifer Walters and her getting that infamous blood transfusion which turns her into the She-Hulk. Interestingly enough in the comics for Titania, and keep your eyes peeled for this, in the comics she has a long-term and ongoing romantic relationship with Crusher Creel, the Absorbing Man. As a matter of fact, they are married. And quite honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Creel showed up in this series by surprise. This would also be another shot at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but we're not going to go down that road right now. I really am curious on what Jameela is going to do with this character. She doesn't have a huge comic history, but her origin story is tied tightly to that Secret Wars story. She also flip-flops in the comics quite a bit from the good and bad side and has been part of multiple supervillain teams, so I do think she has a huge future in the MCU. And that brings us to our last piece of She-Hulk news for the week. And this could have quite the implications for Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk. Now, according to a rumor that was posted earlier this week from the Direct, there are plans for Skaar to appear in She-Hulk. Now, in case you're not familiar with Skaar, in the original Planet Hulk storyline in the comics, the Hulk conceived a child with an alien, and that child eventually came to Earth to battle the Hulk, believing he had abandoned him. Now, the whole Planet Hulk storyline was pretty much mixed up into Thor Ragnarok, but quite honestly, the Hulk could have pretty much gotten anything he wanted while competing in the Grandmaster's arena. He was really living the classic Roman gladiator champion lifestyle in the palace, so it is possible that he could have fathered a child during this time. Given the nature of this show, I suspect they're going a totally different way. There were some rumors back in March that Betty Ross was going to return to the series. If you remember, she was last seen played by Liv Tyler back in 2008's The Incredible Hulk. And that was with Ed Norton. She's never actually shared any screen time with Ruffalo. Now, it's totally possible that Marvel Studio completely forks from the classic Marvel Comics origin of Skaar and actually makes this character the child of Betty Ross and Bruce Banner. We haven't seen her in the MCU in a long time, but this would 100% explain where she was and what she was doing, being a mom, and when Bruce Jr., or maybe David, reaches puberty, which would be about now, you have his gamma powers manifest. Now, this is to me something to give serious consideration to, since the character is not very well known outside of the Hulk fandom. Also, consider the nature of this show. This totally feeds into the idea that this will be a court drama/comedy. What if the introduction of Skaar is Betty Ross seeking some kind of child support from Bruce Banner? Now, the rumor has to be taken with a pinch of salt, because obviously nothing is ever true unless Marvel Studios says so, but this is a thread that should be considered by many fans. We've also heard rumors about Rick Jones returning, and it appears a lot of the complicated rights with Universal Studios, as we predicted, have been totally circumvented by the Disney Plus series. We're going to try to do one of these She-Hulk videos about once a week. I wouldn't call it a podcast because they're way too short for that, but it's really more like a roundup. Like the Sunday She-Hulk Shakedown. I like that name. But I want to know what you guys think about all the She-Hulk news that we've gotten over the last week. Does all this stuff make you more excited for what we're going to get out of the show? And do you feel like it's going to be some sort of platform for Marvel's new Gamma universe? We made this prediction about 2 years ago when this show was announced that Marvel was going to have a full-on Gamma-powered segment of the MCU, and it appears to be happening. Again, don't forget about that like and subscribe button, and make sure you get in on the contest by leaving some sort of comment. Tell me what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure you press like, click subscribe, and if you don't ring that bell, you won't get any updates. Peace.